In the previous video, I stated that Ulysse Nardin doesn't produce a catalog anymore, and so I reviewed the 2015 edition. A few days after I filmed that catalog collector episode, a USPS priority package arrived. In it was a catalog I never expected to get. Now the catalog came in 2-day USPS priority shipping for $7.50. I got it in 2 days after they sent it, which is a little weird because they sent it like 3 months after I asked for it. And this new catalog is a very unique catalog. There are many little tiny details you can hunt for and find, and it's a very fun catalog overall. It gave me lots of pleasure to look through it and, well, like I said, discover new little tidbits. And this catalog is formed basically by these 2 booklets glued onto each part of the trifold softcover. To get to each booklet, you flip along the length, not top to bottom, which is nice. Dornbluth, take note. And the booklets basically divide Ulysse Nardin into the 2 sides of Ulysse Nardin I explained in the previous video. In this catalog's order side, some more differences are revealed. The contents are nice and orderly, with all the numbers being, well, orderly. We have a sort of introduction section here on the order side, not on the disorder side. We have here on the order side another history segment where some interesting things are noted. They did a split-second chronograph that measured tenths of a second, and they broke a 50-year-old chronometer record, though they broke it a bit too late in the 1950s, when it was the end, basically. We'll start with going through the orderly side. Here we have the Marine, which this photo isn't exactly orderly, and the Marine watch is very much the same, though it looks, well, they either have nicer photos or they cleaned up the case a bit. That's nice design. No, I think it's just nicer photos. This is quite nice, though I'm not exactly sure what that is, but yeah, some kind of Tide watch thingy. I appreciate that design, especially. That's yeah, I like that. But anyway, we continue through here, and we have this sort of half mariner, half this looks more like a pilot's watch, maybe, but it's quite nice. Yeah, it's quite nice, meaning sort of a marine watch for people who prefer a more field watch or pilot's watch look from Ulysse Nardin. We continue to the Classico. Again, that perhaps not the most orderly photo, though I guess you could say orderly because it's symmetrical, but yeah, that was probably fun to make that photo. Classico. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice that before. Classic 0. Spirit of manufacture. And here we have a very nice segment that describes the differences between, let me see, the differences between some enamel dials and how are they made, and then cloisonné and champlevé. So cloisonné and champlevé look quite similar, but both of them being sort of a combination of enameling and engraving. But what cloisonné is, it's where sort of gold wire is folded to mark the divisions between the enamel layers and areas, while champlevé is more of engraving the indentations where the enamel goes. Of course, we see some beautiful enamel here, then no enamel here, no enamel here, nothing. Some balance spring innovation. I mean, I like it when companies do these balance spring or balance wheel or whatever innovations. This is probably something to do with the weights, but it's not as interesting as, of course, some of the enamelings, in my opinion, of course. Not to say they don't like it, but make it a bit more flashy, like someone else did it. Anyway, some samurai one, another sort of, well, this is a minute repeater tourbillon. Here we're getting more to the fine art stuff with that beautiful engraving. And I mean, this kind of engraving really is underappreciated because it's just so small and so much detail, and it's all done by hand, and it's very hard to do that, even when you don't have to use a hammer and chisel. And usually the people nowadays use sort of I think it's a pneumatic, but it might not be pneumatic, some kind of an automatic hammer that use a sort of grave or sort of a chisel to chisel out metal to engrave. And now it's sort of now they use a machine that you don't have to actually hammer it automatically hammers and you just go, but that's still quite difficult to get this kind of detail. Yeah, but that wraps up the orderly side of things. Now on to disorder. Disorder. Even that, the catalog 1920 is top to bottom, whereas previously it was sideways. Contents are all over the place, including the page numbers all over the place, and the paragraphs are quite hard to read, though this makes the catalog very, very fun to try to spot the sort of differences and the little Easter eggs in there. It's quite fun. I do like it. I'm not quite sure why both of the catalogs actually have this photo on the table of contents. It says, I believe, 5, so it should be 6. It says 6 on both sides. It says page 6, campaign. Yeah, campaign. This is page 5, so page 6 is this. How is this a campaign? I don't know, but it is what it is. See, and it's 9, so it doesn't skip those pages. I guess you can see that this is more disorderly than the previous, though it's kind of symmetrical as well, sort of more radially. This is the X series, where they took all their watches, and of course they're all vertical in the disorder side of things. This is the executive that we saw previously, just 1 watch or something, 2 watches maybe. They really ramped up this executive line. I'm not a huge fan of the executive line, of the design, but they do have quite a few of them. See, again, so many different paragraphs and so many different sizes and orientations. One's on the side, one's upside down, one's big, one's small, and a 14 in the center. And the Freak in the X series, but it's not that interesting. Of course, that kind of spoiled the entrance of the Freak, which changed a bit from the previous. Most notably in this new balance wheel / hairspring assembly. I believe oscillates much faster. It has a nice, interesting loom tubes to make it loomy. And, well, it's inspired by a Star Wars ship, I believe. That's what it says somewhere. I can't really read it right now because it's upside down. But that New Balance wheel is quite a something. You can see some of the designs here. And here, you can see it bigger. Yeah, that's quite something. I love the Freak. Keep on repeating that. Now back to more of a normal Freak. They do have a couple different designs available. Onto the Executive. Unfortunately, yeah, Executive. This is more interesting of an Executive aside with the sort of world traveler theme here, and a more this, I would say, is more of an executive theme than the previous squares, well, rectangles. But regardless, diver with a Roman numeral 1 or I or big something, whatever it is. Again, a crazy photo there. Divers have not really changed except for this one, which is a bit more classic. I do quite like that, actually. Not too bad from Ulysse Nardin. I wonder why the diver selection is in the disorder page, where it might... I guess it's sort of a disorder side. Yeah, I guess that the diver watch in general is more of a disorderly form of the mariner watch, of the marine style chronometer, which, well, that isn't, but sort of that is, and that's more of a disorderly side, a dive watch. Again, now this time 5 different paragraphs, and some guy holding a shark. Page 43, again we have the date bubbles. Again, too many date bubbles. And we end with this interesting little bezel. Oh, 1,000 meters. I do like when a dive watch can have 1,000 meters, though. Perhaps not the best idea to have it all one-sided, lopsided slightly. Oh, not too bad. The design, I mean the sub-seconds. Perhaps not have all the big things on one side, but hey, they did it. That's an interesting bezel. But that's the end of disorder. So as you can see, a lot of things have changed, but not really to the company. The company hasn't changed. They've more embraced their differences in order and disorder. And I do like that. Which side is your favorite? My opinion of Ulysse Nardin hasn't changed. I still very much like the company. I like what it does. I like the idea. I like the watches. I like how Ulysse Nardin takes their two opposing sides and made this catalog, which is basically, from beginning to end, explaining and showing, presenting the differences between them in a very interesting way. And of course, it's a very fun catalog. A more engaging catalog. I really like the font of the big manufacturer and Freedom, and it's used in several other places in the catalog. These big letters that have some of their lines sort of removed and non-existent, and it's a very unique font. I haven't seen it anywhere else, and it's very nice looking. Now, what makes it especially good is that they haven't overused it. You have it in a couple places, and it makes those places really shine, but it's not overused, so you don't get bored looking at that font. And every time you see it, you still think it's something special. Of course, there are watches I don't like. There are aspects of them that I don't like. I don't like the executive collection that much. I don't like the size of some of the marine watches. But I do love the new Freak with that crazy 3-dimensional oscillator. Now, the Freak is very unique among these crazy escapement / oscillator watches in that its design makes it clean and pleasant to look at, and it's not too hard to actually see the time. Whereas other crazy escapement and or oscillator watches, they tend to be regular skeletons or something along that line, and they tend to be a little more cluttered. While what Ulysse Nardin does, making the movement a hand on the watch, that cleans up the watch very, very nicely. Now, perhaps the most important thing about the Freak is that its design, well, the continuity of its design, allows it to get even freakier. Thanks for watching the video to the end. If you liked it, please subscribe and like the video. Perhaps consider supporting me on Patreon. Any support would be greatly appreciated. I will be coming out with catalog collectors once a week for the foreseeable future. Of course, until I run out of catalogs. We'll see what happens then. See you in the next one.